I'd like to welcome to the show writer, director Tom Putnam and star David Cross of the film The Dark Divide. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Well, we talked for 5 minutes, Ricky. You didn't record it. We had a wonderful conversation about some of the decorations in your place there.
Yes, it's a fantastic Little Debbie clock for those of you asking what Mr. Cross is talking about here behind us.
Varnished, laminated Little Debbie clock. It's awesome.
It's fantastic. Before we dive into the film, I'd like to ask a good question here. Tom, I'll ask you first. What was your first job in the movie industry?
I was a production assistant on the Psychic Friends Network infomercials. I remember I worked 12 hours. I got a check for $75 and I got yelled at by Dionne Warwick like 115 times.
Oh, wow. I wish I'd known that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Dave, same question to you, sir.
My first thing I did, I guess, was I think the first thing I did was God, I can't remember the name of the show, but it was a video countdown type show that was on, and my friend Tom Kenny was a part of it. It was like NBC at like 12:30 or something like that. And then this other guy who's a mutual friend, Paul Kozlowski, we were all comics, but Tom was doing this thing on there. He was on there a bunch. And I just did this kind of character who was this vaguely foreign, but you didn't know where type of person who sang Christmas tunes out of tune. I think that was the first thing I ever did. I was probably, I don't know, 22. I don't know.
That's fantastic.
It didn't go over well.
The Dark Divide is based on a story of renowned butterfly expert Robert Pyle, who embarked on a life-changing trek through one of America's most important unprotected wildlands in the summer of '95. Tom, to you, what inspired you to write and direct this film?
I grew up near where the book and the true story took place. And I mean, that was like my childhood and teenage years, was hiking and fishing and camping in the exact places that the book's author, Robert Pyle, wrote about. And I also saw a lot of the destruction he talked about from clear cutting firsthand. And I live in LA now. My son is 13 and his favorite things in the world are hiking and fishing and camping. And we don't get to do it that much here. And it just reminded me what a huge part of my life it was and how much I still needed it. So I wanted to share that.
David, from your work in Small Soldiers to your work in animated to Arrested Development, this is something I've never really seen you in. What was it like preparing for this emotionally layered role of Robert?
Well, you know, it was definitely a challenge, and Tom and I went. Tom, wrote this really good script, and the story is really compelling, and we went back and forth and kind of crafted it a little bit, knowing, one, there's no budget, and two, it's just a guy in the woods mostly, and I was insistent upon more nudity, and Tom was like, I'm not sure, but I was pushing for it all the time, I started reading Robert's work, and I met with Robert a couple times, and then after that, there's not a whole lot you can do except start preparing to play a guy whose the love of his life is dying of cancer, and now he's gonna go on this journey that he's ill-prepared for and in way over his head. And just to be fair to the real Robert Pyle, it was a conscious decision, obviously, to portray him as more inept than he really was. But then you're in it. Now you're in it.
Tom, to you, what were some of the challenges you faced while shooting the film, especially outdoors?
I mean, everything. We shot in extremely rugged locations, a lot of the real locations where the story took place, which are like 2-hour drive down a dirt road and then lugging equipment, a half mile in across lava beds or what have you. And Oregon, Washington aren't exactly known for great consistent weather. And I mean, there was like a mountain lion one day. There were bears somewhere based on the amount of bear poop I saw. A tornado wrecked our production office and dropped a tree on our van. Thunderstorms.
Well, also, I'm sorry. Describe the production office. Describe what our office.
We tried to make sure that you never saw it. Did you see it?
No.
Oh.
I thought it was the car.
Yeah, no, we had a production office. It was in the production manager's garage.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was who is it? Lisa's car, working out of her car. We had people.
Oh yeah.
In the car.
It was like Jade, our costume designer, had like her old Honda Civic, and every day looked like a yard sale because she would just pull up and like set up all her stuff out in the grass or whatever.
Like trailers. We had no so everybody and people were pulling double duty. My favorite, and I mean everybody was doing two wildly disparate things. One day the on-set medic was the boom operator. And if that's not the most indie thing, the on-set medic was the boom operator.
It's like total living in oblivion action every day. I wrote this thing, and I originally thought, I'm gonna go make this for like 35 grand, and I'll get a friend to act in it, and I'll shoot it, and then it became like a movie. There's no hotels there. There's no anything. I mean, there was a whole better part of a week, like the crew slept in we were at a like basketball summer camp where there was no electricity. It looked like something out of Friday the 13th.
Totally disused spider webs and, blinds, half falling off the just nasty. Yeah.
I mean,
thing.
And then we were filming and everybody would ask like, oh, how are you going to put the butterflies in? And I was like, I don't know. We're going to have to figure this out. And then, it just worked out. Turns out you can't film spotted owls. It's illegal. So that was the thing. Like every day was something like that where, oh, right. Why did I write that?
I'm going to get the perfect segue there for you. Do you have a favorite butterfly now?
The one that sits still and doesn't fly away after 2 seconds. Wow. You're really, David, do you have a favorite butterfly?
This might be cheating, but the ghost moth, which I was not aware of until I read the script in the book, and then Robert's friend, I can't remember who was the preeminent ghost moth wrangler guy. So I would say ghost moth.
This guy was amazing. He showed up and he had like hundreds of butterflies and moths if you're filming them, they have to be indigenous to that area. Otherwise you're releasing an invasive species. So it was a challenge.
And we shot at night too. Those scenes were all night shoots.
Get lost, find yourself is a quote that is used on a poster. It's basically the theme of the movie. You see it everywhere. David, what does that quote mean to you?
Well, I think it's pretty apt. It's pretty succinct. It's in order sometimes to find yourself, to get to know yourself, to really explore yourself. You have to get away from the external distractions we all have. You have to face a challenging situation in which there really is nobody to help you. And I think it's a pretty good little succinct slogan.
Before we go, I like to ask one fun question to all my guests before we go. Tom, I'm going to let you kick it off first. What is your go-to karaoke song?
It's a Willie Nelson song, and why am I forgetting it? So lonely.
Patsy Cline song.
Is that Patsy Cline?
Yeah.
I was singing like Willie Nelson. Whatever that song is.
He covered it.
I'll either do that, or if I've had enough to drink, I'll do Fame.
About Crazy.
Yeah, Crazy. That's right. The Willie Nelson version of Crazy, or I'll do Fame, which kind of is usually ends the whatever party's happening.
Yeah.
David, to you, sir.
It'd be one of two. It's either To Serve with Love by Lulu or Eat It by Weird Al.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a fantastic one.
And the best thing about Eat It is people think it's going to be Beat It. So like drunk, tipsy suburban moms will go, yay, and come out on the floor. And then when you start doing Eat It, they get disappointed and leave.
I want to see that. Why am I finding this out now?